So today I will be talking about the future and the present of the monetization, the app monetization and game monetization. So I'm going to start off with a small little story to kind of ease you into the present, because it's kind of a complicated topic, and I know that a lot of you actually not really thinking about that, and we in Appodeal know a lot about this because we actually come from publishers, and the realization of current current monetization came from years of experience. So imagine you are a small indie developer, or not even a developer. Imagine you're freshly out of college and you got your degree in biology, and you realize you hate biology and this is like driving you crazy and it's really boring. You don't want to do this, and your younger brother is learning very small skills of the development, and you make your small match 3 game, and you start thinking, maybe I just publish it on Google Play and see how it goes. So you do that, you make your first game, and you have your family and friends download it. You have like 20 users, and you integrate one network because that's what casual games do. And at the end of the month, you cash out $1. Woohoo, big success. So you think, okay, maybe I can do this. So you start thinking about it more, get a little bit more skills, and develop a second game that is a little bit more serious. And it's, I don't know, endless runner, and it has more levels. Well, if it's endless, it doesn't have levels. Doesn't have levels, but it's actually higher quality game, and it turns out to have actually organic growth. So you see that your first network that you worked with doesn't really fulfill all of the impressions or of the ad requests that you receive. So you start thinking about integrating a second ad network, and you integrate second ad network. It requires a little bit of maintenance, and it's a little harder. And then you invest a little bit of money that you receive into user acquisition, user base grows, you integrate more networks, and at the end of the month, it turns out that the maintenance of this monetization stack is really difficult if you do it manually. So you constantly have to look back on the historical performance of each of the network, build a waterfall, understand what works, what doesn't, what performance each of the network has, and build the waterfall accordingly. We call this traditional waterfall. Now, at the end of the month, you cash out pretty good money, but you realize that you don't have any time to create new games. You don't have any time to pay attention for user reviews and fix bugs, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really working out for you. So you go to Casual Connect, and for example, and you learn that you've been doing it all wrong, and you start testing different monetization methods, including automatic mediation. So what automatic mediation does is, I'm sure that a lot of you know, it just provides you with one full stack platform that does everything automatically. It automatically positions all of the networks that they have. We, for example, have 60, other mediation platforms have other number of ad networks and other demand partners. Mediation platform breaks it down into tiers, maximizes revenue, automatically positions all of that networks into waterfall, creates flat waterfalls, so you don't have to think about anything. You have one platform, you log in, you see where money came from, and you're able to focus on the game that you want to work on. So you don't have to think about it. Again, and this is important, mediation also has the ad exchange. So what advertisers see in mediation is just a large app with a giant user base. And that makes it easier for mediation to attract direct advertisers. And those advertisers are, DSPs, for example, are all integrated in the real-time bidding auction. And that would be the ad exchange. The ad exchange works really quickly and normally provides a lot higher eCPM for your impressions than from the networks. So here's the advantages, obvious advantages from the mediation platforms, but mediation platforms also have a really big downside. It is the latency. Where does the latency come from? Back to the slide, previous slide, ad exchange happens in real time. It takes about 2 seconds on average to send out requests for certain impression, for certain app, and fill that impression with the highest possible ad that is available from either as DSP or anyone else, or other direct advertiser. Why this happens? Because every partner that is in ad exchange can see this impression, can see what is the app, what exactly with the quality of app, what is the quality of the traffic, and the length of session, number of sessions, and so on. And they know exactly what they paid money for. And that all happens not one by one. That happens in real time. It's like me saying, hey guys, I have this ad impression, who wants to take it? And all of you see me, and you say, okay, I'll take it. So that's how ad exchange works. How waterfall works is I go and I say, hey, I have this, do you want it? No. I have this, do you want it? No. Do you have this, do you want it? So that would create latency. Because it takes about 500 milliseconds to present one ad request to each of the ad networks in the traditional or flat waterfall. That creates a giant downside, and SDK initialization can take up to 10 seconds. So that's where we came to, and we came to the realization that we need the in-app header bidding, if that's even possible, because what header bidding is, it came from the web, obviously, when we had the headers on top of our websites, and that was the most profitable and the most expensive ad to spend money on. So now in apps, of course, we don't have any headers. We have impressions, we have rewarded videos, we have banners, we have interstitials. We don't really have that, so we can't really take the technology from web advertisement and insert it into the in-app advertisement. But we can adopt a similar technology. And what we did, and this is no longer theory, so the market, and you probably have seen it in the schedules, that the ad tech market is buzzing with this in-app header bidding, in-app parallel bidding, and everybody has a kind of different name. We call it parallel bidding because it all happens in the same time. Again, parallel in the parallel to each other. So what happens and what header bidding, how header bidding works, if you remember the slide from the previous slide, the traditional flat waterfall including ad exchange. So what happens is we partner up with ad networks, not DSPs, and we propose for them to create a special, adopt their SDK, so we convert them into DSP-like partners. They're not exactly DSPs because obviously they're networks, but they work in and they are able to see the impression and the information about every impression, information about every app they're working with right away, about sessions. So all of those ad networks are able to see all of the stack of the information. And a lot of them are actually able to pay a lot more than DSPs because they have the access to this information. All of this happens in real time. So all of those partners were converted into the large area, and this auction happens in real time. It removes the latency. It's instant. It optimizes your revenue. It provides 100% fill rate, and you still have the access to this demand. And of course, there will be no maintenance because you're working with progressive mediation. So I hope that you understood the theory. So this is no longer a theory, and super exciting. I'm so excited to tell you this. We actually started beta testing this on May 8th. We started working on it last year. I presented my first speech about this in Seattle, Casual Connect. You can go somewhere on the YouTube and see my speech. But this is no longer a theory. So on May 8th, we asked 3 apps to update their SDK with the parallel bidding in it. We had one network that was able to do this, was able to work or have privilege of the header bidding within the ad exchange. So the ad exchange revenue, it's not the mediation revenue, obviously it's a very small part of the revenue, but in a few days, in 2 weeks actually, this parallel bidding empowered network took 7% of all of the ad exchange revenue. And it's not the DSP. So it shouldn't really have that high CPM to propose to buy those impressions with. But because they have a lot of direct advertisers, they act like DSPs, and they want to get the highest possible quality of the impression so they can attract more productive and more higher quality demand. Here's the actual screenshots from Appodeal website. So you can see that on May 1st, we started. The impression to May 14th, they stay the same. They're not going up or down. They pretty much stay the same. But the revenue, this is the same day from May 1st to May 14th. The revenue of this specific ad network went 20%. The revenue made on exactly the same count of impressions, which is pretty amazing. The results of 3 apps and 1 parallel bidding ad network. This is a breakdown of the revenue of all Appodeal networks and DSPs and exchanges. This is pretty much our breakdown. So this, the orange, this is that network, one ad network, that actually was empowered with parallel bidding. So you can see the orange in these little things, like it almost doesn't exist. They don't really care about buying or overbidding. They're just working on a regular historical performance and flat waterfall, and that's it. Once they started having that information about every single impression and every single app and every single session and everything else, they are willing to overbid. They are willing to pay a lot more, and this is how much they're going up. So right now, this is no longer one ad network. Right now, we actually have already released the SDK, and it's available for download on appodeal.com. And it already has 3 regular ad networks that are empowered with parallel bidding, and anybody can test it. So, and we are actually in the process of integrating 4 more ad networks empowered with parallel bidding. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask me. If you have any insults, please go ahead and email me. I don't think I can handle this right now. And thank you so much for listening.